Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. How are you today? I hope you are having an amazing evening. Welcome to our podcast, Parenting Made Simple, a space where parents tell real stories. We have real parents sharing real stories and real experiences so that together we can build a community of children who are resilient, confident, and happy. Today, I have the opportunity of welcoming a very, very special guest who will be talking to us about money, 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 money. We know that money rules the world, money runs the world. And sometimes in families, not sometimes, to be honest, in families, we need money in order for our families to effectively run. But we're not just talking about money, we're talking about insurance. And so today we have an expert insurance broker, Taye, who would be sharing with us, answering some questions about insurance and just making sure that on those rainy days, we are best prepared. I hope that you are going to, take a lot away from this show today. But also, I hope that you will ask your questions and all your questions will get answered. So, without further ado, I am going to welcome our guest for today, who is Taye. Taye will introduce himself as he comes on stage. Welcome to you, Taye.
Good evening, Ivy. Good evening, viewers and listeners. How are you?
I am
Tell me,
good, thank
Ivy.
you. How are you too?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing my best.
Okay, it's good to have you finally here. When it comes to insurance, this is one area where I am least confident in. Okay, when it comes to insurance, I don't know my way around family insurance, and you know, it's not just going to be our viewers and our listeners learning today, but it's going to be me learning as well. So please excuse me if there are questions that I ask that sound very naive. It is because this is
Okay.
an area that I am not versed in at all. So if you have just joined, please do us a huge favor. This podcast is one where we want to reach as many people as possible. So it will really be our pleasure if you shared the podcast and welcome other people in your network, especially parents, to come in and share and watch and ask their questions as well. Because together we will build children, or we will create children. We will build a community of children who are happy, who are confident, and who are resilient. They say it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. One person does not raise a child, it takes
Definitely.
a whole village. So, good evening once again. Thank you, Ty, for agreeing to be on the podcast today.
Thank you. It
Okay,
is my
so I'm
pleasure.
going to dive straight in. Sorry, Ty, I cut you there.
I said it is my pleasure to be on here today.
Okay, thank you so much. I am going to dive straight in just so that we can give our viewers the time to ask their questions and to get their questions answered as well. So to kind of start with, you're an insurance broker, but to all our listeners and everyone who is viewing this or who would see it in the future, could you explain to us what family insurance entails and why it is important for families to be insured?
Okay. So, very quick, a brief background as to who I am. So, yes, you mentioned my name. My name is Taye.
Yes.
I've been a broker for the past 3 years, and I got into it simply because I mentioned that the qualities I have will be very useful for the industry. Two, the industry is an industry that, as Black people,
Mm-hmm.
we know well enough, and the industry is a very lucrative industry.
Okay.
And most things, we always come in last because we do not have the right information to to start this journey in life.
Hmm.
So I got into it 3 years, look back ever since. And my basic or my main mission is to make sure that, or as but as Black people primarily, but as people generally, that we do get insurance in place because we are the ones who need it the most, but we are the ones who are and you'll find that when we have bereavements or when we have unfortunate is in our lives.
Yeah.
That is when we realize that finances that we thought we had enough or were not even there at all. And
Absolutely.
we now start going to do GoFundMe or begging bowls and hope people will be benevolent enough to give us charity, which help, but it can only help in the short term. In the
Yeah.
long term, you need some sort of insurance in place. So
Yeah. Sure.
coming to your question about um, what is family insurance, so there's nothing necessarily like family insurance,
Mm-hmm.
but there are insurances that you can have that safeguards your family.
Oh,
Uh,
I get it.
Insurances could be life insurance,
Mm-hmm.
which is an insurance that should the person who takes it dies, his or her family has a lump sum of money that will keep them in a financial situation that doesn't leave them or doesn't leave them in a situation whereby they are desperate for money.
Okay.
So that's that. People do take life insurance because A, they are cheaper, and B, they're the ones that are very heralded out there, to get. But there's also another insurance called critical illness insurance. That
Okay.
insurance is very, very vital because even though it is the least likely to happen to you, but an accident is more likely to happen to you.
Yeah.
And many of us do not mitigate incidents of when accidents or sickness happens. So
Mm-hmm.
that critical, if I am diagnosed with a cancer, with a stroke, with a certain amount of money will come to me. That
Yeah.
money I can use to seek, or if the treatment is not available in the UK, I can
Mm-hmm.
fly abroad, and that treatment will be given to me. That money is a lifeline,
Mm-hmm.
because insurance, but you don't have a critical illness insurance,
Yeah.
you'll be waiting for death to happen to the money that will help them.
Okay.
But if you are critically ill, your family will be financially compromised,
Mm-hmm.
because either you are or you are the extra contributor to the family's upkeep, and with income coming in, the family's quality of life is compromised, or is so that critical illness insurance is very, very vital. More it covers the children or the child also. So
Okay.
it may not be you who has the mom or the dad. It could be the children. It could be
Yeah.
the child.
Mm.
So by insurance, that child is also, or that child or those children are also mitigated from the unfortunately diagnosed with a critical illness. So
Okay.
that's the second very that's insurance. The third, but for me, the should be the first thing called income protection insurance. So that
Ah.
income protection is a sort of, so not many employers have sick pay for the employees,
Mm-hmm.
have a long stint of sick pay for the employees. So that your own backup or your own sick pay policy for yourself. That
Mm.
if my employers don't have sick pay for me, don't have a long enough sick pay for myself, this income protection is my sick pay to myself. The event
Ah.
that I have a sickness or an accident or an
Mm.
injury that stops me from earning, I don't need to worry about my monthly income, because that income protection insurance pays it for me, or pays it. So that is important. And you also need to consider something called health insurance. So that health insurance just helps you to bypass the NHS. The NHS will be very good and effective, but the
Mm-hmm.
NHS has so much it is doing to address the issues of its populace.
Yeah.
So private medical health insurance just helps us either the queue that the NHS has, or the bureaucracy that the NHS has, or that the NHS has, because you are paying for for that thing quicker,
Okay.
and giving yourself access to experts that would. So those are the insurances that I would say that as a family one should get.
Okay.
Your
So
husband.
if I get you right, you have quoted four. Sorry for cutting you. You've quoted four. Um, the first one is life insurance, which is in the event of the parent passing away, so that the remaining parent or the parent who is alive and the children, at least they have something with them. The second one is the one that protects for illnesses. So if the person has a long term illness, then that insurance covers that, even if the person is not working for a long time, it still covers the person. Then there's one that you mentioned about health insurance as well. And then the fourth one is for work,
So no, the fourth one is actually the third one, which is the income protection.
income protection. Okay, yeah,
Yes.
I get it. Okay. Can I just say your line is kind of breaking a little bit. I'm not sure what it is. Um, you would start a sentence and then at some point it's like it freezes. I'm not sure. Maybe is the network that's not. I don't know. But
I'm experiencing that too. So I thought it was me experiencing that too.
oh, are you experiencing it as I'm talking as well?
Yeah, sometimes you
Oh,
freeze. So I thought it was on your end, but let's try and manage it as best as we
I
can,
don't
please.
know what is happening. You know, these network issues. Last week it was huge. The whole of Africa was experiencing network issues as well. I know that Cameroon it was really bad in Cameroon. Okay, let's just keep going. Maybe it's something I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Okay, right. So you've talked about those four different types of insurance. If you're just joining us, this is Parenting Made Simple. It is a podcast where real parents share real stories so that we can bring up a community, a really strong community of children who are happy, resilient, and confident. And I have here with me in the studio Taye, who is an insurance broker and who is talking to us. Already I've learned things that I did not know. All I knew was life insurance, and I did not even know how to go about, what it was for. I just know the word life insurance. I know it's something, but when you start to get into your 30s, your 40s, your fifth and above, you're like, okay, maybe something needs to be happening here. I need to know these things just so that you are safeguarding the well-being, the welfare of your family in the event of an unforeseen circumstance. An unforeseen circumstance can be health, it can be an accident, it can be being laid off your work. There are so many things that can be unforeseen that can impact the income within the family and cause distress to the parent and eventually to the children. And that is why we're bringing these things here, because it's really important for us to talk about them. So you've already talked to me about the different types of insurance. So in terms of these different types, is it just money? Because we are in the West, okay, we're in the UK, and it's easy to say, okay, I will call up the insurance company, I will talk to them, and they would be able to sign me onto one of their insurance policies. But what about people who are, say, maybe in Cameroon, for example, or in Nigeria or in Africa, where you don't necessarily have these standardized or well established insurance policies and things and companies? How could they insure them or insure themselves? Is it just money? Are there other ways that families can insure themselves?
Well, um, there are institutions in Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think even currently there is I forget his name, and some Nigerian military is looking to revive the insurance aspect and institutions in Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
because those institutions have failed or are failing. When many of us come to the West, we bring that mentality with us.
Yeah.
So much so that we have an over dependence on water, which is property,
Mm-hmm.
land. Now, those things are wonderful things to have as assets to leave for your for your successors.
Yeah.
But the problem with those things is, if you need money, those properties or those lands cannot be sold quick enough get
Ah,
you the money you need for either for
yeah.
burial or for so those they cannot be sold very very. So I would advise anybody in Cameroon, in Nigeria, and Africa, if there is a viable insurance institution,
Mm-hmm.
company or insurance company or business, they should actively go and knock on their door and see what they can get with those institutions.
Yeah.
The
And I suppose sometimes for some of these
asset that,
institutions,
say that again.
I suppose sometimes for some of these institutions, it's not really a lot of money. I think people are just because the fear of the unknown, people don't know that maybe it's not as much money or monthly, the monthly payments are not as much as they think they are. Sometimes people are not sure what the monthly payments could be. They might be thinking, oh, it's a lot of money. Meanwhile, the monthly payments are quite small depending on the package that you take.
Mm. And even that assumption or even that wrong assessment
Mm-hmm.
there too. A lot of people think, oh, I can't afford insurance, or it's going to be too expensive, without even looking into it, without looking into which insurance is the most relevant for them, which will
Yeah.
match whatever amount of money that they're able to afford.
Mm.
So that mentality permeates here very, very much. Not just it's not just a Cameroon or Nigerian thing. It's very 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 and prevalent here that a lot of people think, oh, I don't know, it costs that little, because they never asked the question, or they never looked properly into what was possible for them.
Mm.
Oh, I have this illness, or I'm this age. Well, it's not good. I'm not going to need it, or it's not good. There is no insurance that cannot be got if you questions. So, coming back to your question about in Africa or even on Nigeria, for me, if there is a viable insurance, I think those institutions need to be reactivated.
Yeah.
A lot of our people back in our home countries are
Mm-hmm.
missing the trick. Those institutions are not either not active enough, or they're not making those institutions get them the covers that they need uh,
Okay.
to to maintain themselves.
Wow. I think you're frozen again. Have you finished talking, or
Yeah,
is it
yeah,
that you're okay?
yeah. I'm
Right.
waiting for you to respond. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I would say that there's two things here. The first one is the systems. I think the systems in Africa or in Cameroon in particular. Let me talk about the case of Cameroon. The systems in Cameroon are not well established for, yes, there are insurance companies, I know a few of them, but they are not well established for people to walk in and access their services. But also there's an issue of a lack of education, where many people, like, the people in the villages, for example, they are not sure, they don't know that these insurance companies are in existence. And so because the mentality or the mindset is that I'm going to leave a plot of land for my son, or I'm going to leave a house for my child, it makes it such that maybe our parents or our great grandparents, and maybe some of the people who are still growing up now, they still have that mindset that this is me ensuring your livelihood when I'm gone. But
Mm,
forgetting to know that if I need money here and now, it is still that insurance broker or that insurance company that is still able to pay that lump sum of money. And besides, the world is becoming such a little global village, such that if the people who are watching us, these are the people we're talking to. If you're able to have data and watch us, therefore you are in a place where you can at least you have access to maybe insurance, or you can travel to another city and access an insurance company. Even if it's just the smallest premium that you're paying, it will go a long way to safeguard your family in the event of an emergency. It will go a very long way. And I think after this after we finish from here, I will be thinking about what to do, because I need to, yeah,
Yeah, you've really hit the nail on the. My notion is something is better than nothing,
yeah.
and I also have this notion that we shouldn't let the perfect affect the good. Many a
Oh,
time
I like that.
when I'm it's I heard it from somebody else. It's not my own statement, but I heard it from
Mm,
somebody else. We shouldn't let the perfect affect the good,
yeah,
because many a time when I'm doing my consultation, they always say, "Oh, you know what? I want to wait when everything is in order. I want to
yeah,
when I have the right amount of money. I want to wait when everything is right before I will do insurance."
yeah.
Can you see what's behind you? They say
Mm,
no, because we don't know what's behind us. We cannot wait
you
the
cannot.
corner. We need to have something in place. So if it's for now, what you can afford for now,
Mm,
let us have that in place.
yeah,
Now reach perfection, we can now revisit what we set up for you and say, okay, let us give you what is perfect for where you are, for where you've arrived at. But for
yeah.
where you are starting from, you need to have something, because that journey you want to go towards perfection, if anything comes to hit you up, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And
That's it.
you leave your children at the mercy of whatever.
Mm,
You leave your family, you leave your children at the mercy of the government, at the mercy of uncles and aunties and brothers and
yes.
sisters. And you
Mm,
you cannot undermine the impact of anything happening to one parent on the whole family. It does not just impact, for example, say in Africa, it does not just impact the child from going to school. It impacts the child's mental health. It
yeah.
impacts going to school. It impacts mental health. It impacts future possibilities that the child will have. So one event impacts the rest of that child's life.
Mm,
Even in this country, one event will impact the rest of the life of a child. And that means if we want to mitigate here with insurance, you're not saying that nothing is still going to affect the child. We're just mitigating the circumstances, reducing the amount of things that maybe the surviving parent or the other parent
mm,
um, has to deal with. Or maybe even you as a parent, it might be loss of job as well. And during that time, instead of focusing on trying to find another job, you're focusing on two things: on finding a job and then still fending for your family. Meanwhile,
yeah.
if you had that insurance, you just be focusing on one thing. So I
Mm,
think it's really something for us to consider, especially as a people. I know that as a people, Black people or Africans in general, I know that Black people are not just from Africa, but Black people in general need to
yeah.
consider what insurance can support them to do in the event of something happening.
Let me even just add to that. So
Yeah.
in my experience, you will either the husband will
Mm-hmm.
talk the wife off out of taking insurance,
Yeah.
or the husband out of taking insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say to them, look, you have insurance. Because assuming if husband takes it and wife doesn't take it,
Yeah.
what happens is if the wife dies,
Yeah.
nothing comes to the husband.
No.
The husband doesn't take it and the wife takes it. If the husband dies, nothing comes to the wife.
Exactly.
It is even worse when both of them don't take it. So that means
Mm-hmm.
if either of them dies, nobody.
That's it. Or a
Nothing
long-term
comes.
illness
Yeah,
or
yeah.
loss of
You know,
work.
yeah. And so it's pretty sad. Either it's ignorance or arrogance or just lethargy that nah, it's not gonna happen to me. And it is even more worse if they're religious. Oh man, you hear, oh,
God will
uh,
provide.
right, it is not my portion. It cannot happen to me.
Amen. We're not hi patience. Hello, thank you for joining us. We're not saying that being religious is a bad thing. We're saying that being religious does not mean you throw away common sense.
Definitely.
You still have to have logic and common sense. And there are certain things in this world that you still have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. You're working. if you're religious, why not just stay in your house and not work? If that is the case, you're still working. Therefore, there are things that you still have to deal with. You still have to do, even though you're religious. So, I think this is a really, really important thing for us to consider. I personally, I will be considering this. Like I said, post this show, I will be considering this, seriously, because this is something that has been at the back of my mind. I haven't really
Mm.
acted on it, but it is something that I probably need to act on as soon as
And
possible.
let me just you see, when we talk about getting insurance,
Mm-hmm.
what we are trying to maintain and secure is that standard of living or that quality of life
Yeah.
that children are used to. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine a family that is used to going on holidays twice a year
Yeah.
because of loss of job or because of death of one parent. Those sort of activities no longer happen.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a child who's used to the next holiday, who's looking for the next holiday, and that is a sort of looking. It's a sort of expectation for him or her. If those things change, I'm sure it has some emotional or mental
Absolutely.
impact
It
on the child.
does. It
Yeah.
does.
So that means as parents, once we have children, we need, and just to tie it to the topic that I know that is your topic. As parents, once we have children, we need to always be looking at how we financially
Well, it seems like we have lost Tai there. Um Okay, so I'm just gonna keep ranting while we wait for Ty to come back. I think the network is not very great. So, in terms of what we're talking about, I think as a people, we need to think about the mindset around. Oh, you're back.
I'm here.
Okay, you're here. Okay,
Mm.
so there's a question in the chat which we're going to come to in a moment. But I was just talking about the mindset around around insurance as a whole. As a people, I think our mentality, what we believe about insurance, needs to shift to a place where we are taking it out, because I suppose it's just like a pot where car insurance, where you just keep paying, but you never claim, but you just keep paying. I suppose the question is, I'm just paying into a pot. When do I ever have to benefit from this? But we need to shift our mindset to, I am safeguarding the future of my children in the case of anything happening. I think we need to shift from what is my gain to, I am safeguarding my children and my family. There's a question in the chat. I'm just going to put it up so that you can see it. A question for Peter, please. I have got a life and work insurance. If something happens to me, it only goes to my children. Is there an insurance that goes to spouse as well?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I've had to change my internet service. I'm not sure what's happening, but hopefully this is better.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
So a
hope so.
question, Peter. I've got life insurance and work insurance. If something happens to me, it only goes to my children. Is there any insurance that goes to spouse as well? Should I answer that question?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. So if you have a life insurance, any insurance you have, your husband or your wife is an automatic beneficiary.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband or wife. So it's like a will. If you don't make a will, then as a husband, as a wife, if you die, your estate goes to your husband or goes to your wife, because that is
Mm.
who society knows
Yes.
as your
Yeah.
significant other. So
Mm.
when it comes to insurance, if you have an insurance policy, your husband or your wife is your
Mm.
automatic beneficiary. Now your children are secondary beneficiaries. So you have to it's just very similar to a will, but you have to mention each child's name and how much you want part of that lump sum to go to. Some
Mm.
insurance companies allow you the possibility of setting up a trust. So most insurance companies will allow you to set up a trust, and that trust, I'm not sure if patients I don't know what company you're with, but find out if you can set up a trust with them. They will send you a trust form, and that form is very, very detailed and simple. And you can mark your husband or your wife to be your beneficiary, and you can now have secondary beneficiary, which will be your children, or you can make your children your sole beneficiaries. Should you not want it to go to your spouse, but there needs to be a record to say these are the people I want the money to go to.
Okay. So I think Patience says that if something happens to me, it only goes to my children. So would it be a case with Patience saying that if something happens to her, it will go to her children? Would it be a case here that she would have said the children are the sole beneficiaries, or is it automatic?
It's most likely that she has said that.
Okay. Can
It's
she
most
change
likely she has said it, yeah, without knowing what she has done.
that? Mm,
It is most likely that she has said that, or she has made that as an instruction. But
okay.
from my own experience, your husband or your wife is your automatic beneficiary in an insurance from an insurance perspective, similar to even if you don't have a will, your husband or
Okay.
wife is going to be the one to receive your what is in your estate.
Okay. To execute that whatever that insurance is saying. Okay. So um
Forgive me. What
can
does she mean by work? What does she mean by work insurance? I don't want to understand. What does work insurance mean? Unless it's
so
two different things.
it might be what you were saying at the start, that you can take insurance in the case of being laid off work or something like that.
No, 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 no. So the income protection, I need to
Yeah, the
explain. The
income
income
protection.
protection is only in the event that you have an accident, a sickness, or an injury that
Mm-hmm.
stops you from working. It's not being laid off. It's not.
Okay.
It's not anything like that. It's primarily accident, injury, or sickness. That income protection will be your backup or your monthly salary payment to you in the event that
Okay.
your employers don't have sick pay, or your employers don't have a long enough sick pay for you.
Okay, yeah, she said it is if she's sick and can't work, so that's the income protection.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna leave this question on just in case someone else is wanting to ask the same questions, is because same question is being answered. Please, if you're just joining us, I would really encourage that you share this live stream, because these are things that are really, really important for families, and it helps to safeguard especially our children. Remember, this podcast is a podcast where we talk about parenting, and parenting cuts across so many different fields.
Hmm.
This is one of them. And this is so, so important, especially to the Black community, because we really want to sensitize the Black community to consider insurance in order to safeguard their children in the event of anything happening. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the questions. So we've talked about what are some of the factors that parents that would determine a parent. What are some of the factors that parents will consider before taking out life insurance or any type of insurance for that matter?
Well, so the key word there is if you're a parent. If you, I was
Yes.
going to say that, so but I'm happy that you've brought it back to this point. If you're a
Mm.
parent, i.e. or e.g. you have children,
Hmm.
you need and you must have life insurance. End of. End of.
Okay.
There's no if, there's no but, there's no why, there's no whence. You need to have life insurance, because from everything we've been saying, if anything should happen to you, you want to know that when you are 6 feet under, that your children are not having to compromise their education, they're not having to compromise their quality of life or their standard of living, because
Hmm.
you are not there to either add your own contribution to the expenses of the family, or
Yeah.
you being the main person who pays for everything. It's no longer there. You do not want that to be the case. So that's the way I will answer that question. That
Okay.
if you're a parent, you need to have life insurance. But let me just quickly add: you do
Hmm.
not wait. You do not need to wait to be a parent. You do not need to wait to be 30, 40, 50, 60 before you get life insurance, because life plays a funny trick on us. life gives us youth when we are younger, when we don't value life necessarily. It's when it's when we it's when we become older and older that we're like, oh yes, I should have done this when I was younger. But
Maybe
when
I
you're
should do
younger,
this.
no, when you're younger, we don't think about all these things because we think of having fun. It's when we get to
Yeah.
our 30s, 40s, and 50s, we start thinking, you know what? Yeah, let me start doing this business. Let me start doing this now. So I would say to anybody, do not wait to become a parent. Do not wait to become 30, 40, or 50. There is no time like now. Because now potentially you are healthier. Now potentially you are slimmer. Now potentially, you are in the best shape that you can be.
Hmm.
And all of these factors all of these things play critical factors in how cheap, affordable, or or or
Ah,
comprehensive your insurance can be. Because, for
okay.
instance, now I think from 18 onwards,
Hmm.
from 18 to about 40, your insurance can be potentially very inexpensive. But
Okay.
once you start going past 40, entering into your 50s, then your
Yeah.
insurance will start getting more expensive because you are getting closer to where death is most likely. You are getting
Yeah.
closer to where your health and your well-being will be
Yeah.
compromised. So the
Hmm.
insurance companies have all of these things as considerations to know whether or not they can insure you, and if they can insure you, how much it will cost them, how much it will cost you for them to be able to cover you.
Right. That is really interesting that you're saying that because I did not know that the more I would imagine that if you have like a health condition or anything like that, you have to declare it and it will
Yes.
increase your insurance premium.
Not necessarily. So the insurance companies, and forgive me if I'm taking you away from where you want to go, but if
No.
just come to my head. So the insurance company have something called underwriting. So the
Right.
underwriting is how they will say, okay, we have this. Say we have Ivy. She has
Yeah.
said she's this height, she's this
Mm-hmm.
weight. This is her BMI. She has said she has this health condition. She has said
Mm-hmm.
she had this operation in the past. What risk does she present to us?
Right.
They will look at their books, whatever books they look at. I'm just assuming they open books. Okay, no, 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 okay, fine. Well, Ivy though has this risk. The risks are not bad enough that we need to put
Right.
any
Okay.
more.
Mm.
We need to put any more on her premiums. So premiums
Yeah.
is what we pay every month.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we would accept Ivy on a standard acceptance, on a standard rate,
Okay.
which means they are not putting any penalties on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
that. But we look at Ivy. We look at Ivy. Oh, she has no, 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 no. She's a risk. We're going to put an extra on her monthly premium because she has come up with risks that we need to mitigate for. And
Okay.
worst case scenario is they would either say, you know what, we can't cover you at all
Oh
because
wow.
yes, we you're too much of a risk for us to cover. So
Yeah.
we won't even bother putting your premiums up, you
Mm.
know, because we just can't cover you. And just to also stress, HIV, sickle cell, they are not red cards, or they are not gates that they're not fences that you cannot climb.
Yeah.
With the right insurance broker, we can find you providers that can take you. So if you've had if you have HIV, if you have sickle cell, if you have diabetes, those are not reasons to say. If anybody has told you you cannot get insurance, the,
What about high blood pressure? Because I know high blood pressure is something that is very common
mm-mm,
within our community
mm-mm,
as well.
mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. You can get life insurance.
Okay.
You can get critical illness. You can get income protection, and that's why I'm saying, a good broker is what he's our value in gold, because we can. It's just like a lawyer. If you go to a lawyer for law advice, come to a broker for insurance advice. We'll advise you
Yeah,
well. That's what we're here for.
why not? You know, I'm really glad that we're having this session today. Like I said at the start, I am going to learn more than anyone else on this episode of the podcast because this is an area that I have
Mm.
not really invested in learning in, and I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you so much, Tai.
No, thanks for
Okay,
having me.
so when it comes to obviously insurance is something that we've been talking about. I'm just gonna kind of divert a little bit from insurance, we're still talking about money
Yeah.
and insuring the family. What role does financial, planning within a family, what role does financial planning play in protecting the assets of that family?
So the way I answer that question is this: many a time we spend money on frivolous things without even knowing that we're spending money on frivolous things. So, which is
Mm,
why when I'm doing my consultations with my clients, I ask them to tell me what is their monthly financial commitments that they cannot they cannot not pay, if you know what I
mm,
mean.
yeah,
And once I know what all of that is, and once I know how much they are making salary wise and how much they're spending month wise, it now gives me something called a disposable income, which
yeah,
is the money they have left over.
yeah.
Now that money they have left over is money we can now say, look, from this amount, say you have £500 left,
Mm,
10% of that is what, £50. Take £50 from that £500, put it to insurance. So that would be the advice that I would give to to anybody with regards to financial planning.
mm-hmm,
Have some contingencies towards life insurance. Have some contingencies towards making a will, because a lot of us leave this mortal coil without having a will, and especially in the UK, the HMRC is rubbing their hands like, ooh,
they're rubbing their hands and waiting and waiting.
okay, okay,
As soon as
you haven't
anything
done the will,
happens, they claim
you
the
haven't done the
assets.
will, so yes, so we're gonna have this percentage, whatever is left, go and start sharing amongst yourself. But by having a will, you already mark who gets what gets what, and so much so that I would advise that you can take insurance to mitigate against that aspect of the HMRC coming to take from that from that estate. So there are ways and manners that we can help to
Mm,
mitigate a lot of things that people don't factor or people don't think, because they don't have the knowledge, or they didn't think they will need it, or it will happen to them.
yeah. Please, if you're listening and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I need this advice. I need to ask more questions. I've got some questions that I need to ask for my particular circumstance. Either ask the question now or after this show. Please get in touch and I'll put you into link I'll put you in touch with Taye, and you can ask your questions. You can seek consultation with him and
Mhm.
find out exactly what you need to do to protect your assets, to protect your children, to protect your families in the case of anything going wrong, anything happening. It is really important that we are talking about this within, especially within our community, because we work hard. We are a hardworking people. We should be
Mm.
protecting these things. We should be writing those wills. We should be taking out that insurance, which would safeguard our families in the future. So we're going back to Africa because some of my viewers are in Cameroon, others are in Nigeria, some of them are in Africa. So, in the case of parents living in Africa, what advice would you give them regarding financial management and budgeting? Because budgeting is something that, I struggled with it. I'm going to put up my hand. I did not learn how to budget. I know how to use money in a judicious way, but budgeting is not something that was taught to me in schools. I had to, try this and try that and try that to come up with the best possible scenario. Or
Mm.
I learned from my mom the way that she was doing it. And till this day, budgeting is not taught in schools. Even here in the UK, it's not taught. It's only children who maybe do econ or they do
Yeah.
maybe accounting that they get to learn about budgeting or whatever. I'm not even sure if they do. But the normal day to day mom who is at home or parent who is at home, they don't know budgeting. So let's go back to Africa. In the case of Africa, what would you advise someone who wants to be on top of their budget, or a parent who wants to be on top of their budget or financial management?
Okay. So budgeting is not an area of expertise. for me. But common sense tells me that um, you need to know where your finances are going,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to know what you're spending money on. And as I said earlier, towards a question similar to this, what are your core expenses? And those core expenses, what are they satisfying? So what are your core expenses? It is either rent, school fees, light bills,
Mm-hmm.
food. What else? What else am I missing? Maybe some aspect of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So those and maybe health. Yeah. So
Yeah,
those
maybe.
six things. Yeah, those
Mm-hmm.
six things. You know how much money are you spending towards them? And but primarily, how much money are you making, and how much money are you marking to these six things? If you're able to satisfy these six things and you have money left, that money that you have left, are you putting it in a bank to generate interest? Do you have an investment that you want to put that money into? Do you have a project that you want to put that money into? Do you want to buy a land? Do you want to build a property? Do you want to be part of a business? Do you want to form a co-op? I don't know if you have it in Cameroon, but there's something called Ajo in Nigeria. Ajo, whereby um, 10, 15 people just put money into a
I think
pot.
we call it Njangi in Cameroon.
Okay, okay. In Yoruba, we call it Ajo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
because
call it
of job. So
Njangi.
yeah, so if you can mark some of what money you have left after those six core expenses have been addressed,
Yeah.
just find ways of investing that um, disposable income. Find ways of
Yeah.
investing it, or if anything, just be saving it. Just save it, save. And if you have something that you want to buy, if you have, say, you want to start a business, you want to buy a generator, because we know generators are very, 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 very important in
Very
Nigeria,
important for
African
me
people's life.
useful. Yeah.
Yes. Or if you want to buy a sewing machine, or if you want to buy a laptop, you want to do coding, then save that disposable income towards that, because now you have something that can even generate more income for you. So
Mm.
all I would say is, like I said, it's not an area of expertise of mine, but common sense tells me if all your core essential um, bills or interest have been satisfied, any other
Mm.
money you have left, you're not spending it on frivolous things. That money has where it is going. That money has a mission. That money has a purpose. Then
Yeah.
that's what I would advise.
Okay.
Unlike here, whereby on the UK, whereby most things are already sorted for you. You don't need to worry about health. You don't need to worry about school.
Mm.
What are you using your money to do? Are you learning another trade? Are you learning another skill that you can add to yourself? Because in this day and time, one income will not satisfy your needs anymore.
It will
Even
not.
two incomes is even stretching it. So you need to be a multiple income person. You need to have multiple streams of income that can help you, maintain yourself. But most importantly, maintain that quality of life that you are used to.
Mm.
People take for granted the standard of living that they are used to. They take it for granted. If you cannot have hot water during winter, you will see that hot water
That's when you understand that hot water is important.
is so that's what I would advise.
Yeah, you talk about hot water, and it brings me to I remember something a few weeks ago. Our boiler, it wasn't bad, but someone switched off something. Okay,
Mm,
they turned off a switch in the little compartment, the little boiler compartment. Someone turned
mm,
off a switch there,
mm.
and for up to about 2 weeks, all we had was lukewarm water. Oh
Eh,
my goodness. And in the winter, you have lukewarm water. It's crazy. It's crazy how important hot water is. So we're using the kettle to boil water just to make sure that the water is warm enough for us to have a wash. And we had to, we went around, we eventually I just went in. I said, well, this switch is off. Why is it off? Let me just turn it on, because someone had, I think a workman had come in to look at the boiler and turned it off and
Oh, and
forgot to
then we're
turn
going to
it
put
back
it back
on.
on. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm not a very techie person when it comes to, or I'm not, hands on when it comes
Mm.
to boilers. So I was like, okay, let me just turn on this switch. And I turned it on, and lo and behold, there was hot water. Oh, the jubilation.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Something that
jubilation.
simple. Imagine something that simple.
Yeah, something that
Yeah.
simple. Hot water in the winter
Yeah.
time. Honestly, it's yeah. So
And
I
you find
definitely
that the things we take for granted,
yeah.
when we don't have them, they are
Mm,
not things we should take for granted at all. And that's
yeah.
why I'm coming back to this standard of living or quality of life that we're used to. If it is
Mm,
compromised, my
mm,
dears, my stars, my ladies, my madams, no, it would not, it will not it will not be a good thing if those things are not in place. So the insurance aspect of things just helps to make sure that the people you leave behind, or even you yourself,
hmm
that standard of living that you're used to is not compromised.
Yeah. And I
Essentially.
suppose when once that standard of living is compromised, that is when you start seeing things like anxiety. People start becoming anxious. There are other causes of anxiety, but this
Mm,
could be one of them. And of course, your mental well-being is no longer because you got enjoyment from those things. And
yeah,
emotional health is really important in boosting that mental health.
definitely,
So
definitely.
if that
Mm,
emotional health is not there because you're not getting the enjoyment that you had from that standard of living, it means that, fundamentally, the whole family just goes down because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If your cup is not
at
full,
all, yeah, that's a
half
good
full
one.
at
Yeah,
least, you
yeah.
can't pour from it. Yeah. Okay, so we're just kind of winding up now, but before we finally finish, what actionable advice would you give to anyone who is listening to us today who are considering insurance or who haven't even considered it? I know that you emphasized it earlier, but it's really
Mm.
important that we emphasize it again. What actionable advice would you give to one, someone who has not considered insurance, two, someone who is considering it?
Okay, so I will start with that saying that I hold very dearly. There is no time like now. What you did not do yesterday, what you did not know yesterday, nobody can blame you for it because
Mm-hmm.
you're ignorant, you're unaware. Today that you have been told that you need to do something, it starts today. So if for the person or for the persons who hasn't considered uh, taking insurance, we ask yourself, what are the reasons why you haven't considered insurance? Is it ignorance? You didn't know you need it? Is it arrogance? You think you don't need it? Or is it just apathy? I don't care. Those three things are not good for anybody who has any sort of ambition in life, and if
Mm,
anybody who has a future plan. You need to always have something in place that helps you. And secondly, find a broker that you trust or you can trust or that can go and look into your affairs for you. Because many a
mhm.
time when a lot of us take insurance, we take insurance either from the banks or from the post office or online. And
Yeah.
they are not bad. But what I do is I tailor the insurance to suit you. Now, forgive me if I'm going to prolong on this matter here.
No,
So,
absolutely not. Take your time.
so insurance companies, they're like people. They have varying standards.
Mm.
So there are certain insurance companies whereby they're particular about your BMI. I don't know if anybody knows what BMI is. It's a body mass index.
Body mass
So
index. Yeah.
yeah. So if you are on the higher side of the BMI, they are going to put a lot on your premiums
Mm-hmm.
because they believe by having a high BMI, you are predisposed to type 2 diabetes. And if you are predisposed to type 2 diabetes, you are predisposed to all the health complications that type 2 diabetes brings. So they will
Yeah.
put a lot on your premium because you've come with a risk that they have to mitigate for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I, as a broker, if I know you have a high BMI, I'm gonna link you with those companies that frown on BMI. I will find you the
Right.
companies that BMI is not an issue for them.
Right.
Another thing, smoking of weed. A lot of our
Mm-hmm.
young men or even women smoke weed. Some insurance
Yeah.
companies won't touch you if you smoke weed because of the mental complication it can lead to.
Yeah.
But as brokers, we know companies who don't frown on that. So if you are a weed smoker and you want to enjoy smoking weed and you still want to get insurance, we know companies that we can link you with that
Hmm.
will not have an issue with you smoking weed.
Okay.
And what else? Um, yeah. So, and also, if you have existing health conditions, there are
Yeah.
insurance companies that we can find you who will not look at your existing health conditions, but we're able to cover you. But those health conditions will not be factored in. Any other health conditions you have, they'll be able to give you
Hmm.
cover for. So for those people who are not considering it, I will say ask yourself why. If it's ignorance, arrogance, or apathy, then please those three things are not good for you. Secondly, find a broker that can help you on that journey. For those who are considering getting insurance, you're on the right track already. The same advice applies. Find a broker who can help you on that journey.
Yeah.
That's all I would
Wow.
say.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, if you have any questions, we've got about 2 minutes left to go. If you have any questions, do put them in the chat. If you want to get in contact with Taye as well, please just send me a DM. If you're on Facebook, send me a message. If you're on LinkedIn, send me a message wherever. If you are watching from YouTube, just send me a message and I will be able to get you in contact with Taye so that you can, if you're considering getting an insurance broker for yourself, just to explore the different types of insurance that you can take that are suitable for yourself and your family. Thank you so much, Tai, for for agreeing to come on the podcast. Um,
Thanks for
I
having me.
definitely will be bringing you back. And like I say, Tai is also a parent. Okay, so remember, this is a podcast where we are bringing parents, real parents, sharing real stories to educate and to build a community of children who are resilient, who are happy, and who are confident. Remember that please do share the stream as well so that you can have it with other people in your network, other parents in your network can share it. Now there's one thing that I'm going to ask you, Ty. You are a parent, you're a father of 4 children.
Yeah.
I have 4 as well, so you know. And what are your what there is one thing that I say here: this is parenting made simple. But
Mm.
also, what are 3 words that would describe your knowledge of what parenting is? Just to round up, what are 3 words that would describe your knowledge of what parenting is?
Okay. Fair.
That would describe your journey as a
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah. So fair-minded,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
equal opportunity,
Okay. Yeah.
and uh, honesty.
And honesty. So fair, being
Honesty.
fair-minded, equal opportunities, and honesty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. As a
Fantastic.
parent, those three things are very, very critical. Again, forgive me because as parents, sometimes we don't tell our children the truth because we either want to shield them from certain eventualities. But by not
Hmm.
telling them the truth, those eventualities that you're shielding them from, they're going to fall into it, and
Yeah.
they will not know how to handle it because you did not tell them what to do or what to expect or how to circumnavigate it. So that's
Yeah.
why that honesty aspect of parenting. I'm not saying tell them everything, but on a need to know basis, they need to know what they need to know.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
to all our viewers, thank you for coming. It has been an amazing evening where I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And Taya, you have given me a lot to think about in terms of insurance when this show ends. So
Mm.
we love you and we are going to leave you with keep coming back. Our next episode is in 2 weeks time. Remember that we are airing every 2 weeks. Our next episode is in 2 weeks time, which will be early April. Please keep coming back. We have got a lot of information packed for you in that episode already. So keep coming back, stay blessed, and keep being the amazing awesome parents that you are.
Thank you.
Ciao and bye for now. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Abby. What you do is really important, so keep doing it. Well done. Take care.
Thank
Thank you.